What does it truly mean to be well-adjusted? Is it smiling through pressure, conforming to the norm, or is it something deeper, something that lives in how we balance chaos within and demands outside? And here's another question: who decides what's normal? In a world that's constantly shifting, can normality be universal, or is it just another lens we use to understand behavior? Today, we uncovered two profound pillars of psychological inquiry: the measurement of adjustment and the concept of normality. Two forces that silently shape how we are assessed, understood, and ultimately how we grow. Definition: measurement of adjustment. The measurement of adjustment is not a simple test or checklist. It is an intricate psychological process that attempts to quantify the alignment between an individual's internal states, emotions, thoughts, values, and the external realities they must navigate. In essence, it is the scientific attempt to assess how effectively a person responds to the demands of life emotionally, socially, and behaviorally. This includes the degree of emotional regulation under stress, the quality of social relationships and interpersonal skills, the ability to maintain functional roles as a student, a friend, a family member, and how gracefully one can adapt to change, adversity, or disruption. What makes this complex is that adjustment is dynamic. It evolves as circumstances evolve. So measuring it requires tools that are sensitive, multifaceted, and grounded in context. Methods of measuring adjustment. Psychologists use various tools to capture this invisible process. Some of the most well-known include adjustment inventories and scales, such as the Bell Adjustment Inventory for school students AISS, or Global Assessment of Functioning GAF. These use structured questionnaire that cover emotional stability, social integration, school life, family relationships, and self-concept. Behavioral observation. Real-time observations in natural settings like classrooms or group activities help assess patterns like withdrawal, aggression, cooperation, or stress responses. Clinical interviews. In-depth conversations led by trained professionals explore a person's psychological landscape in a more narrative, nuanced way. Projective techniques. Tools like the Thematic Apperception Test (TAT) or sentence completion tests can offer insight into unconscious emotional conflicts affecting adjustment. But here's the truth: no single tool can capture adjustment in its entirety, because human beings are not static data points. Measurement must be interpreted through cultural, social, and individual lenses. Why measuring adjustment matters. Measurement is not just for diagnosis or comparison. It is a mirror revealing strengths and struggles that often go unspoken. In schools, it helps educators understand which students need support, not punishment. In counseling, it reveals areas where healing or development is needed. And in life, it gives us the language to articulate what we're going through and what we need. Concept of normality. Now, let's turn to a more philosophical yet foundational idea: normality. At first glance, normal seems like a simple idea. But in psychology, it is one of the most debated, nuanced, and evolving concepts. Normality refers to a state of psychological balance where an individual functions effectively, maintains emotional stability, and aligns with societal expectations. But that's just the surface. There are multiple models of normality, each with a different lens. 1. Statistical model. This defines normality based on what is most common. If your behavior falls within the average range on a bell curve, you're considered normal. But this model reduces human behavior to numbers and often excludes uniqueness, creativity, or cultural difference. 2. Social norm model. This sees normality as conforming to cultural and societal expectations. What is normal in one society may be abnormal in another. It reminds us that normality is relative, not absolute. 3. Medical or pathological model. In this model, normality is the absence of mental illness or dysfunction. It is useful in clinical settings, but it risks labeling people without understanding their context. 4. Ideal model. This sees normality as striving toward optimal mental health, emotional intelligence, self-realization, and balance. It's aspirational, less about where you are, more about where you can grow.
Is there such a thing as true normal? Here's the deeper truth. There is no universal definition of normal. What is considered healthy, functional, or acceptable depends on culture, era, context, and individual values. And trying to force every human into one definition can be harmful. So instead of chasing normal, we should focus on what is functional, fulfilling, and emotionally aligned for each individual. Linking adjustment and normality are deeply intertwined. A well-adjusted person often displays what society labels as normal behavior. But that doesn't mean their experience fits neatly into norms or averages. True adjustment is not about being normal, it's about being in harmony with oneself and the world, in a way that is authentic, flexible, and growth-oriented. In a world obsessed with labels, metrics, and standards, we must remember, the goal is not to be normal. The goal is to be whole, to grow, to heal, to adapt, to become the best version of ourselves even when that path looks different from the norm. If this message speaks to you, follow Livora for your daily spark of self-growth, purpose, and emotional strength. Stay connected. We post every single day to guide you on this journey. Because the more you grow, the more your relationships thrive. This is Livora, where emotional intelligence meets everyday life. Let's grow together.